Let's talk about oil prices, right? Because that is in a way, the most clean kind of way in which markets expresses nervousness around what's happening with Iran and what may happen with the Strait, etc. Richard Redoglia, CEO at Matrix Global, is with us now with some questions and answers. Richard, great to have you back on the program. Thank you very much for your time. 1.5%, 2% jump in oil, Richard. I mean, would you say it's kind of underwhelming?
We had talked about this, so the story we've been talking about this past week, I think it's all kind of coming to pass. You made a point before that the market is talking about lower prices. So let's look at the price today. The high price today is around 78.40. The price after the initial attack was 75.50, and the current price now is $75. So we had a large spike in price, followed by kind of a ho-hum back down again. I had made a point prior in a prior conversation that the shorts have been in control of this market since Trump came in office. The belief that there's an oversupply of crude oil in the world has put pressures on prices from as high as $85 all the way down into the mid-50s. The war obviously has taken those shorts out of the marketplace. And like any market, oil is traded by money, and money moves where there's fear. And the fear right now was this recent attack, obviously. And that caused the spike, the short covering, and it put us up to another higher price. But what's interesting is the crude price, while up, is less has moved up less than the product prices, because while crude prices have moved up $4 to $5 in this recent few days, product prices have been up as high as $7 to $8. And the reason for that is that while we have crude oversupply or overcapacity of about 5 to 6 million barrels, we only have about 1 million to 2 million barrels of refinery overcapacity. And the Persian Gulf is a major supplier of products, particularly into Europe and into Asia. And that is really where the concern is. When you have any kind of conflict that's going to affect refining capacity, it shows up in the distillate price. And that is exactly what is happening right now. And so where we have this attack, the concern is that the Persian Gulf or the Strait of Hormuz can be closed. The market's kind of believing that the success of these two attacks by both Israel and then last night by the United States shows in a way, and I don't mean to say this lightly, I'm not trying to make any kind of political statement, that Iran in a way is a paper tiger, that what they could do is going to be met with significant force, which means that any attempt to close the Strait of Hormuz is going to be very difficult, and thus it's not going to have a great effect on crude price.
Richard, hi, morning. So hearing you, right now say that the possibility of closure of the Strait of Hormuz looks a little maybe distant or difficult. If one were to think that way, then do you expect a cool off in crude oil prices in the near future? I mean, if you could put some timelines to it, and also maybe give us the probability of the closure at all. I mean, is it 5%, 10%?
It's difficult to any of us sit here to make a decision like that. I think, to be honest, we don't know, right? What we do know is that the information technology and the ability to analyze this is instantaneous, which is different than what we've had historically. Historically, it takes time for information to get out. What's happening now? We're knowing in almost real time. Every tanker on the water is tracked. Everything is known at all times. So your question is, it's a hard one to answer from the perspective of if they are able to close the Strait of Hormuz, that is, sink multiple tankers, the price will definitely spike. You'll see another move to the upside. The question is, what is the ability to hold the strait closed, and who are they damaging? Where Iran is truly between a rock and a hard place. Iran's major purchaser of crude is China, and that's effectively their number one ally. And so, do they really take out their number one ally's source of crude, or one of their major sources of crude? You have to be suspect of that. And so I can't speculate on the percentage, but I think with the way the market is looking at it, it's taking this information, it's looking at it, it's assuming that the amount of crude is still flowing into the marketplace. The economies of the world are not slowing, but the price, if you look 1 year forward, is $8 lower than where the price is on the screen right now.
Wow, 1 year forward, $8 lower. We love that. We're buyers of crude oil. We need to import lots of it. But I mean, you mentioned shooting down tankers. I mean, this is a very hypothetical question.
Yes.
But how do you close the strait? I don't know. Would it be via a blockade? Because there's a presence of, the U.S. Navy as well in the region. Or would it be just actually attacking tankers? I mean, I don't know. It's completely hypothetical. It's never happened before. How do you do it? How can they possibly?
You attack. Yes, you attack. You have ship missiles. You attack the tankers. They blow up. They cause environmental disaster. You put yourself in a situation where you have all kinds of problems. And interesting, last week or 4 days ago, because they were jamming radio signals, one of the Dark Fleet tankers collided with another tanker and caused an issue. So there was a spill, and I think it's been taken care of by now. But I think the Strait of Hormuz is only about 40 miles wide, so it's a very narrow area, and the actual sea lanes are even much smaller. And so the U.S. is militarily prepared for this. This is not something. This has been gamed out. And the first time an air missile hits any kind of ship, that location that shot them is going to be taken out. So I think the market really looked at what's happened here between what Israel did with the air defense system of Iran and what the U.S. did last night. And I believe that the oil traders of the world, that the people who are trading the money, are thinking, I'm not so concerned about an oil shortage. I'm more concerned about an oil oversupply. And what one has to start thinking about down the road is, what does it mean to have someone like Iran coming back into the Western fold? It changes the dynamic of the entire region, and it has a major effect on oil prices.
Sorry, what do you mean coming back into the Western fold, Richard?
Yes. Well, that's the question, right? Because this is gone. I made a point. There's a special place called Karg Island. Karg Island is the. Yes. And I made a mention on your show the other day.
Yes.
Karg Island is where 96% of all oil exports from Iran come from. It is a sitting duck in the middle of the Gulf. Why has it not been taken out? What is the reason for that? You can completely take out the entire export facility of Iran. Why hasn't it been taken out? And I believe, at least my thought would be, that if I am looking for any kind of regime change in Iran, the last thing I want to do is take out the one major income source that would support a new government. And so I believe it's by design that both the U.S. and Israel has decided not to take out Karg Island. It's sitting right there. And one of the reasons would be is, if there's some kind of regime change, if we can move beyond what we're seeing now with a theocratic government, that would mean you'd have a new government come in, and it's going to need money. And where's that money going to come from? It's going to come from oil exported through Karg Island.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Richard, okay, one more hypothetical question.
Yes.
If we remove all the geopolitics, all the risk premium, all of that out of the market, focus on just demand and supply, where would the price of oil be? Where should Brent be trading?
Very good, excellent question. Where should we be trading? Is where we're trading about 3 weeks ago, which is about $6 lower. Remember, OPEC Plus with Russia has been holding oil off the market to the tune of 5 to 6 million barrels a day. We're seeing a significant amount of new crude coming on from offshore Guyana, a major new field that's run by Exxon and the Guyana government, and offshore Brazil. So you have significant amount of new oil coming online. Demand is not peaking by any stretch. This concept of peak oil demand I find to be I don't believe it. We're going to continue to see oil demand rise for the next number of years. So peak demand currently is around 104 to 105. Saudi Arabia came out about a month and a half ago and said, we believe that other countries are cheating. They're not doing what they said they were going to do as far as it relates to curtailing, and they were starting to release crude back into the marketplace. So at this stage, it's going to be run like it always has been by the cartel and their ability to produce the extra barrel. And if they produce that extra barrel, I would think prices could be $10 to $15 lower than they are right now. Okay, so about 60 to 65 would be a rough range, minus all the bombs and all the missiles flying around. Got that. That's a great reference point to have at the back of our mind. Thank you very much. Great conversation.
Richard, you wanted to add something? Sorry, you wanted to right at the end there?
Her point was exactly right. That is exactly the price, that 655 to 65 area. I use WTI, but Brent is the same price. That's a very good reference point to look at. When you get down to that level, demand picks up a little bit. You tend to see some production maybe not come online until you start to get a balance back in the marketplace. Yeah. That's really, it's almost self-correcting from that regard.
All right. Richard, thank you very much for joining us. A great conversation as always, and very good perspective as always. Really appreciate your time here. And thank you for staying up for us.